Here we go with number 1. As always, this is how all of the problems will start. Indicate clearly the methods you use because you'll be scored on the correctness of your methods as well as on the accuracy and completeness. So number 1 says, 2 large corporations A and B hire many new college graduates as accountants at entry-level positions. In 2009, the starting salary for an entry-level position was $36,000 a year at both corporations. At each corporation, data were collected from 30 employees who were hired in 2009 as entry-level accountants and were still employed at the corporation 5 years later. The yearly salaries of the 60 employees in 2014 are summarized in the box plots below. So I got 2 A and B. Question says, write a few sentences comparing. So the minute that I see that happening, I think, and I'll even write down shape, center, spread, outliers, context. So then I'll write, a few sentences. Shape, both A and B. Ignore the fact that I just wrote a little there. Both A and B appear somewhat symmetric. With both having same median value of about $52,000. All right. Then I'm going to say Corporation A has a much larger range than B. It also has 2 potential outliers. And B has no outliers. For salary. All right, so that's pretty much it. I have shape, center. I identify which measure of center, and since it's a box plot, I know that it's median. Spread, talking about the range. I did not identify the actual amount of the range, which I can. It wouldn't be a bad idea, but I wouldn't need it in this case. So in order to be essentially correct for part A, you'd need to have a correct comparison of center, which is saying they're about the same. A correct comparison of spread, which is that A has a greater spread than B. All right. A discussion of outliers of Corporation A, which I did, and then the responses in context. So I'm talking about dollar values and salary. Those are good enough to give me context. I'm showing that I'm relating it to what's actually going on, and it's $52,000 for salary because these yearly salaries are in thousands. And that would be enough, and I did this in 3 minutes and 50 seconds for problem number 1A. Now let's go to part B. Now it says, suppose both comparisons offered you a job for $36,000, so A and B, and then asks you for letter I. Based on the box plots, give one reason you might choose to accept a job at Corporation B. All right, so one reason why I want to accept a job at Corporation A, A has a higher max, Q3, and potential outliers, which means I have a better chance, or I have a chance to earn more than possible at Corporation B. Then, and that would be for part I. For II, why would I want to take a job at Corporation B? What I can see from Corporation B is that even if I am a slacker, my minimum is going to go up and be at least 40,000, whereas at Corporation A, there's a chance that I might not even exceed the 36,000, which was the original starting salary. The original starting salary is 36,000. Corporation B, so I'm going to say I am guaranteed to get a raise at B up to $40,000, which is better than the 36,000 minimum on A. All right. And that, again, in order to be essentially correct for this, in part B, I have to use a relevant statistical measure. All right. So I talk about the higher max and the Q3 and the potential outliers. So it's a statistical measure, and it supports my choice, which it does. So I have a chance to make more than is even possible at Corporation B, since the Q3, the max, and the outliers are all larger than they are in Part A. I should say that maybe a little bit more clearly, but I would be okay with what I have written. For II, it says I am guaranteed to get a raise at B, up to $40,000, which is better than the $36,000 minimum A. All right. So again, I'm saying that, hey, here's why B is better. Is like I could be a total slacker and do like the very least amount, and I'm still guaranteed to make more than the worst person at A who got no improvement whatsoever. So in part BI, there's an explanation to provide why the measure of comparisons is relevant. In II, relevant statistical measure is identified, and an explanation is provided. All right, so you got to say which one, and you got to say why. And in both cases here, so now I've done about 3 minutes and 45 seconds on each, for a total of 7.5 to 8 minutes, which is well under the time that you would need to use to complete number 1. That would be about it. So if in order for this to be a complete response, both parts, A and B, would need to be essentially correct. If it wanted to be a substantial response, one part is essentially and one part is partial. If it's a developing response, which is a 2, one is essential and the other one is incorrect, or both are partially correct. And then minimal is one is partial and the other one's incorrect. There we go. Now you have it. Move on to the next question.